outside of Nashville, Tennessee. This is the award-winning podcast, ParaReality.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for listening tonight. My name is Sandman, and I will be your guide through this strange realm of ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, aliens, conspiracy theories, and other unsolved mysteries that I like to call ParaReality. Well, I hope that all of my listeners are staying safe out there tonight. If you've been affected by Hurricane Laura, please know that you're in my thoughts, and I'm sending out positive vibes in your direction. I've been through several hurricanes myself, so I know what you're going through. And if you're fighting SARS-CoV-2, otherwise known as COVID-19, please also know that I'm sending you positive vibes too. I'm fighting it on the front lines. Haven't been infected, and none of my loved ones have been infected, at least not that I know of. So considering myself lucky on that front. But if you have been infected or affected by it, or any of your friends, family, or loved ones has been infected or affected by it, please know that I'm sending out positive vibes in your direction. Man, 2020's really sucked, hasn't it? I mean, as far as me, as far as I'm concerned, I'd intended it for it to be a good year. I never dreamed that it would turn out anything like this. I mean, we're going on basically 10 months that we've been in the middle of a global pandemic. And now just here in the States, we've had riots that have spawned all kinds of violence, and that's caused an untold amount of damage. We've had murder hornets. We've got a sitting president that's not only completely screwed the pooch on this pandemic response, but he's also told us to drink bleach and is now encouraging people to commit voter fraud. And now we've got hurricanes, and if all that wasn't enough, now it looks like the entire state of California is going to burn completely to a crisp and snap off the west coast of the United States. And we still got 3 months to go, people. What's going to happen next? You know, what the hell? What's left? You know, and I have to admit, there's a part of me that kind of can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I mean, it's been an interesting year. It damn sure hasn't been boring, to say the least. There's been lots of stuff going on. Oh, man. You know, it's kind of a cool and rainy night here in the big nasty. And whenever I record at night, there's always a very different vibe here in the bunker. I don't know. It's just, you know, it's night. It's dark. Things are always different in the dark, right? The air seems to be a little more still, and things are more quiet. And I'm sitting here in the bunker all by myself, and sometimes it feels like something's watching me behind me, or maybe just around the corner. And I can catch like a shadow or a movement out of the corner of my eye. When I turn, it's gone. It's like, was I seeing things, or was there something really there? You know, I've had experiences with stuff like that before, and I've actually had to have myself and my home cleansed. And I'm wondering if it's been several years since I had that occur, and I'm wondering if maybe I don't need another cleansing, or you know, maybe it's worn off or getting weak or something. But you know, whenever you have a show like this and you discuss the topics that I talk about, and you research these things, and you kind of sometimes get really involved in it and get lost, in what you're doing and you get all caught up in it, it opens your mind up to be more susceptible to things like that. And I think that's all part of becoming, I don't know, psychic or empathic, or maybe since my mind is more open to all of this. I mean, after I've been doing this a long time, right? My mind is maybe my mind is just more open to accepting stuff. I don't know. It's really weird, but it's just eerie and creepy here in the bunker tonight. And I think that's set a perfect mood for me to do something tonight that I haven't done in quite a while. So on tonight's journey into the realm of ParaReality, I'm going to turn to you, my loyal listeners, and I'm going to reach in the old email bag and pull out some emails and answer some of these emails that you've sent me over this last year. Now, some of these you might have already heard before. I might have answered these on the air before, but most of these are emails that I haven't gotten around to answering just yet. So they're new. You haven't heard them. Now, back in the day, this used to be a regular thing that I did on the podcast. I called it Ask Sandman. So welcome to the Ask Sandman episode of ParaReality. And, of course, to learn more, you'll have to tune in, and find out. However, before we begin tonight's journey, let me tell you how you can contact me here at the podcast. Because as you know, if you're a longtime listener, there are a few ways that you can do that. So here they are. First of all, you can email me. My email address is sandman@parareality.com. That's sandman@parareality.com. Second, you can find me on Facebook by going to the ParaReality page there on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/ParaReality. Third, you can follow me on Twitter, on my social media account. My username on Twitter is @ParaRealRadio. That's ParaRealRadio, all one word, @ParaRealRadio. And lastly, you can always call the studio line at area code 615 and dial 692-1170. That number is 615-692-1170, and leave me a message on the studio line. I am in the studio a lot these days working on the podcast, so you never know. I might just answer the phone, but probably not. But you never know. I just want you to remember this, though. If you do decide to leave me a message, you're giving me permission to play your comment back on the show. So if you don't want that to happen, you'll need to let me know somewhere in your message. If you don't say that, just by leaving the message is giving me permission to play that comment or question or whatever back on the air. And rest assured that if you give me a phone number, email address, name, something like that you have in your message, please be aware that I will edit that out. I do not play people's names. I do not replay people's email addresses or phone number or any contact information or anything about the caller whatsoever. I may leave a first name in there, but I will not leave a last name if you happen to give me your whole entire name. I will not play back your email address, nor will I play back your phone number. I do not believe in doing that. So feel confident that I will keep your anonymity on that. So those are all the ways you can get in touch with me here, Sandman, on the show. And just to recap, once again, email sandman@parareality.com. Find me on Facebook by going to facebook.com/ParaReality. That's my Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter @ParaRealRadio, or call the studio line 615-692-1170 and leave me a message. Don't forget, If you don't want me to play that back, you need to tell me somewhere in your message. There's somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes on the voicemail. So if you run out of time, if you go over, let's keep it to 3 minutes. I think it's what it is. If you run out of time on your 3 minutes, just call back and pick up where you left off. It's fine. Don't worry about it. All right. So let's get into the Ask Sandman portion of the show. Man, I have, like I said, I used to do this back in the day on ParaReality, and I'm always trying to change the show up and keep things kind of new and fresh and stuff. And somewhere along the line, I for some reason just decided to cut this out. I haven't done one in a long time, and so I thought, you know what, so creepy and eerie in here tonight for some reason. I mean, it's not like, the typical dark and stormy night. There's not a thunderstorm outside, and there's no lightning and wind and rain. It's, kind of a little rainy, not too bad, off and on. It's not a heavy rain, but I don't know. It's just eerie in here in the bunker tonight. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it's just weird. So I thought, it's a good time to bust out the old Ask Sandman. Why, I don't know, but hey, all right. So first, let's see, I have a total of 8 emails that I'm going to be addressing over the next 45 minutes or so tonight. Like I said, there's a couple of these probably that I have already answered on the show in the past, but most of these you have not heard before because I just haven't had time to get to them. And there's a few strange ones. There's a couple of strange ones, and I'm going to end it. I saved the best one, obviously, for last. It's from an old friend of the show that I haven't heard from in a very long time, and I got this out of the blue. I'm very can't wait to see where this goes. But anyway, that's a little teaser there. So first email comes from Brian. And Brian writes, could the Denver airport conspiracy be a good show? All right, Brian, I know I emailed you and answered this question, but I to be honest, I think I might have addressed this on one of the more recent episodes of the podcast, but I cannot remember. So that's why I'm including this email. So if I've already answered it, like I said, sorry. So, Denver Airport conspiracy. Well, I'll tell you. I have been to the Denver airport a couple of times. And, man, it's a nice airport. It's like the biggest airport in the United States, right? It's very nice. It is out in the middle of freaking nowhere outside of Denver. And it takes forever to get to. And I've, like I said, I've been there a couple of times. I've looked all through this airport. I've looked at the murals. I've taken pictures and all that sorts of good stuff. And I've taken pictures of the Freemason, the Masonic symbol that's right at the front of the airport, the little monument that they erected there, and studied everything that I could. Now, obviously I can't just like start walking around going anywhere I want to go because I'll get arrested and or shot. But I did not see anything there that looked like there was a secret underground alien base. But then again, if there is a secret underground alien base there, they're not going to have, a door with a sign on it that says, stairway to secret underground alien base or elevator to secret underground alien base on it or anything like that. But I just don't see where there's a a secret base to it. Now, one of the things that I do think is more plausible than there being a secret alien base is that there could be a secret underground subway system there. Kind of makes sense that there would be something like that there. I've got you guys have probably heard of Scott Walter from America Unearthed. I'm not going to say he's a good friend of mine because he's not, but he is an acquaintance of mine. I've talked to him a couple of times, interviewed him on the show. We've exchanged several emails. Very nice guy. Very passionate about what it is that he does. But he's been to the Denver airport, and he has a lot more clout than I will ever have, because he's got this freaking TV show, right? And I just have a little podcast that no one's ever heard of. But he got access to a lot of the underground area of the Denver airport, and his conclusion was that there was really nothing there to see. So I have to kind of stick with my buddy Scott Walter's conclusion is that I really don't think that there's much there to see. But then again, would they really show him if there was? It's like, okay, we've hid this from everybody, but darn it, Scott Walter, you figured it out. So would it make a good show? I think yes, Brian. I think it would make a good show. I don't think there's a secret underground alien base there, but I do think that there's enough evidence that could support that there is an underground rail system of some sort, subway, for lack of a better term. So, yeah, I do think that it could be a good show. Like I said, I've been there, looked around, taken pictures. I didn't see anything that looked suspicious. I mean, the murals they're creepy kind of, but they're beautiful. I mean, what you see on TV does not do them justice. If you really need to see them for yourself. And I'm not saying that you need to take a trip to Denver just to see the murals at the airport, but it's something. It's a sight to behold. I'll just put it that way. They are very beautiful. So thank you, Brian, for that email. And moving along next, this is actually, I have a couple from this next person. This comes from Kasima. This is one of two emails that I'm going to read from Kasima. And this first one has to do with chemtrails and helicopters. And Kasima writes, "Hey, have you noticed less chemtrails since the start of COVID-19? Here in RVA, I have noticed a considerable drop in chemtrails I see. Clear sky days are actually clear. I have noticed them here and there, but I see more helicopters and airplanes also flying at lower altitudes since the start of COVID-19 in March 2020. So more into the airplanes and helicopters. Since our riots/protests started here, helicopter and small planes were seen circling overhead, which I expected to see being we had so much happen, and the amount of people were great in numbers at first. Since all this began, I started seeing more military-style helicopters flying overhead, dark colors, sometimes a dark green, almost black. I would notice them on days that were more likely to have a protest, especially the more violent type protests, like fires, rubber bullets, tear gas, bricks, etc." And she concludes with, "This was just a fun fact I noticed. Thanks, Kasima." Well, Kasima, you know what? This really made me stop and think. So this is kind of like a two-parter here, right? So the first part, we have the chemtrail issue, and then the second, we have the helicopter stuff. All right, so we'll take it in order. So this really made me stop and think. Now, I live in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and I am not too far from Nashville International Airport. In fact, probably about 20 or 25 minutes from the Nashville International Airport. And where I live, there's an approach path and a departure path that it doesn't fly like directly over my house, but it's pretty darn close. And I see planes coming and going every day, all the time. Now, since COVID-19 has started, I've noticed less planes. That's to be expected, right? But one thing that I also have noticed was, you are right, Casima, I have not noticed the amount of chemtrails that are normally present. Now, I have been thinking this for several months. Like, man, it doesn't seem like there's that many chemtrails. And then when there are chemtrails, they're not, there's not a lot of them. They're kind of sparse, right? But I never really made any connection, and I can't believe that I didn't, but I never really made any connection between there not being any chemtrails and COVID-19 until you wrote me this email. And now I'm going, damn, how could I not have made this connection? So good on you, Casima, for making the connection, because I'm apparently too stupid to make it. But yeah, so one of the and this email ties in to the very last email that I'm going to read, that I was saying is from an old friend that I haven't heard from in a while. So this is very interesting, Casima, that you should happen to send me this email, and I get one from this other dude, and I wish I could just go ahead and read into it, but this is just a little juice, right? This is a little taste. So one of the things about chemtrails, and we can discuss this in more detail later, but one of the things about chemtrails, one of the theories is that they are, it's some sort of inoculation or like vaccination thing, or that they're even, whoever they are, I say they, and I have my air quotes up, that they are exposing us to some sort of bacteria and or virus. So could COVID-19 be a direct result of chemtrail spraying, or could it have anything at all to do with chemtrail spraying? Maybe they have achieved their objective, and that's why there's less chemtrails. Maybe they finally found the right concoction, and they're not having to spray as much. And what we are seeing in the skies is just enough mist to keep the infection going. What do you think about that? That is scary. Now, on to the second part of your email, the helicopters. You say that you have noticed more airplanes and helicopters since the riots and protests. And that's, that makes sense. But what is intriguing is that you're saying that you're seeing more military-style helicopters flying overhead, dark colors, black or dark green. So I know that you wrote me, it was either back the first of this year or last part of 2019, about seeing black helicopters. So I don't think in your area. So I don't think that seeing these helicopters is something new to you anymore. Do I think that it has anything to do with the riots? Actually, yes, I do. Now, the ones that you were seeing earlier this year before all this stuff happened, no, I can't connect that to the riots. But what you're seeing and everything now, yes, I think that has absolutely everything to do with the rioting that's going on. Doesn't surprise me that you may be seeing some type of military helicopter, but I don't know if it's military or not. You'd have to either describe it really, really well or be a really good artist and draw me a picture, or better yet, give me a picture so I could tell you yes or no if it is a definite military helicopter or not, and what kind of helicopter that it is. Now, this is not something that I talk about a lot. I don't brag about this or anything like that. It's nothing really to brag about anyway, and there's never any real reason to bring it up. But in the past, I used to work for the government, the Army, to be more precise. I was not an active duty military person, but I did work for the Army, the government, and I did have a top secret clearance, and I did work around helicopters a lot, and I can pretty much tell you, I know just from the sound, or at least at one point I did, and I still think I probably can tell you just from the sound that it's making what type of helicopter it is. Now, I did not fly the helicopters. I was not a crew member on the helicopters or anything like that, but I did work around the helicopters a lot. And I can't tell you anything else about what it was that I did, just simply because of the top secret stuff. But I would be interested to know what I'd be interested to see a picture. If you could get a picture, that would be great. Any kind of picture, you can draw it. If you're a good artist, send me a picture, Cosima, because I would like to see it, and I can tell you what type of military helicopter it is. So thank you for that email, Cosima. I really appreciate it. And this next email, this is one that I know that I've addressed on the show. This is probably, this is a year or so ago. It comes from, I'm going to totally screw this up, Friday BOCOPW. Friday Boco PW. We'll just say Friday. And he writes, the Las Vegas shooting would make for an interesting show. Now, like I said, this is a year or so ago that this was written to me. So why am I bringing this up? Well, because I think, Friday, that you are correct, that the Las Vegas shooting would make for an interesting show. Now, I was able to attend a conference where one of the FBI agents that was involved, like directly involved in the response to this Las Vegas shooting, was there, and he was giving a talk about the Las Vegas shooting. And, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about what was going on with this guy. The truth is, we're never going to know why this dude did what he did. There wasn't a note, at least none that they're admitting to, but I mean, we're talking to the guy that was directly involved in the response here, and even he says there was no note, nothing to indicate why this dude was doing it. We got shown classified pictures that wasn't made available to the public. We got told some information that was kind of withheld from the public, and not that it was like, oh my God, we don't want this is top secret stuff here. We don't want people to know, but it was just more like, just like on a need to know basis. And it wasn't something the public really needed to know, but it's no like earth shattering secret information or anything like that. Some of it was just graphic, But I can tell you that the dude is dead, or at least the person that they showed in the pictures is dead, because he was foobarred. But the elaborate setup that this guy had, he actually had two windows that he had two hotel suites. Number one, they were adjoining, and he had two windows busted out, one in each hotel suite. One was where he was firing from, and the other was part of some weird contraption that he had rigged up, where there was like a tube going out of the second window, and it was coming all the way in the hotel room and out and around to the other room that he was in, and he had some sort of weird mask and stuff on. It was almost like he was doing it to maybe he expected there to be a lot of smoke or something like that, and he was breathing fresh air. Maybe he was thinking that the feds or the cops, whoever was responding, was going to try to tear gas him or throw smoke grenades or something. It was some really weird setup that he had going on. He had some tracer rounds that he was firing, and he was shooting them all the way across the street at these big fuel tanks. And the idea was that he was, trying to make them blow up. But he obviously watching a little bit too much TV, because tracer rounds, any kind of round is not going to do that, But they did find where, indentions in the tanks where he had shot them. He snuck in. People were saying, how could he sneak in all of these weapons without anyone knowing? Well, this dude was a high roller. He was a big time high roller, and he had this room, or these two rooms, and he had all of his shit in big duffel bags, and he would just go out to the car, pick up a duffel bag, take it up to his room. He might wait a little while, go back down, pick up another duffel bag, take it up to him. So he wasn't taking a whole shit ton of duffel bags in at one time. He was doing it in like shifts, and they showed videos of this guy walking in with a duffel bag. It was just one bag, and it didn't look like there was anything that someone should have questioned him about. Now, knowing that there were weapons in the bag, you look at it and you go, oh shit, you could totally tell there's a weapon in there, but I know what was in it, right? But if you weren't expecting there to be a gun, and if you didn't know, you just see someone carrying a big-ass duffel bag that looked kind of heavy, it looks kind of a little funny, and but you wouldn't think anything of it. And so he did this several times with weapons in duffel bags. So, yeah, that's how he could do it, and he did it very well. It would make for an interesting show. I just don't know. You got to look at it with the conspiracy theory aspect, obviously. And this year has been the year of conspiracy theories here on ParaReality. So maybe I've got 3 months left. Maybe I'll do one before the end of the year. I don't know. It would make for an interesting show. There's just so much to that we'll never know, though. It's just purely, the whys and hows and what for twos and all that sorts of stuff is totally going to be speculative. And I don't know. I guess that could make for an interesting show, because if you're going to speculate, you can speculate about a lot of things. So, yeah, I may have to look into that. So, thanks for bringing that up, Friday. Appreciate it. And let's see, how many was that? That was 1, 2. Let's see, 3. Yeah, okay. Was that 3? Yeah, I guess so. Got to count here. Let's see. What do I want to read next? Okay, so this comes from, this next one is the second email from a listener of the show, Casima. And this has to do with Hitler and the Nazis. And Casima writes, do you see any similarities to the U.S. today and the rise of Nazi Germany? As this year has been a history-making year, I've been looking back and comparing other history moments to this one to better understand what is going on. If not similar to Nazi Germany rise, what would this compare to, if any, moment in history? Always a pleasure, Casima. All right, Casima. Gosh, you have such, man, it's like you put a lot of thought into these. You're really testing me here. And I like that. Don't get me, I like it. Okay. So, do I see any similarities to the U.S. today in the rise of Nazi Germany? Ugh. So, you guys know that I kind of consider myself an expert on Hitler and the Nazis, okay? I've been researching Hitler and the Nazis for a long, long time, many, many years. It's always fascinated me about how one man can basically hypnotize an entire nation. And then you have Heinrich Himmler, who, as far as I'm concerned, was the real evil. Don't get me wrong, Hitler was a bad guy. He was kind of crazy, maybe bipolar. He was definitely narcissistic. But Himmler was, I think, much worse than Hitler, because he's the one that came up with the final solution. He's the architect of the final solution. Anyway. So I've done over the years, more than 5, but less than 10 shows on the Nazis. So, like I said, I kind of consider myself a little bit of an expert on Hitler and Nazis. So I know this is where this question's coming from. And now, whenever you have to be careful when you're making a comparison between anything and Hitler or Nazi Germany, because that is such a taboo subject, and you damn sure don't want to make a comparison. So I am not going to compare President Donald J. Trump to Hitler, and I'm not going to compare his presidency to Nazi Germany or anything like that. Are there similarities? Yes, there are similarities in the fact that just like Hitler was able to hypnotize an entire nation with his words, simply by it was a multifaceted thing. It was very complicated, but one of the things that he did to draw people in was he told them what they wanted to hear, whether he meant it or not. He said what every German was thinking, practically. And that was the great appeal of Donald Trump in 2016 during his presidential campaign, was that he was saying what a lot of us felt. And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but and it's a great tactic, I guess, politically, but you got to back that stuff up. If you're going to use that to get into office, then when you get into office, you got to at least pretend like you're doing it. And some of the stuff he did, like the border wall. I'm not going to lie. I'm a proponent of the border wall. I know that's not going to stop the illegal immigration, but I think it'll help slow it down. It'll help complicate things a lot. Personally, I think that if we catch illegal immigrants over here, instead of deporting them back to wherever it is that they came from, not just Mexico, but from wherever it is that they came from, I think instead of deporting them, I think we should put them in prison and force them to build our infrastructure. Put them back, building bridges and busting up rocks, and let's build some highways and make some repairs and stuff like that. Is that legal? I don't know, but I really don't care. I think if we did that to our illegal aliens, I think it would cut down a lot on people coming over here, because they know that the consequences of them getting caught is they're basically going to do 20 years hard labor. They're going to rebuild our infrastructure, our crumbling infrastructure. So that part of Donald J. Trump appealed to me, where he was saying, make America first, make America great again. I was totally down with that. So, a lot of people obviously supported that. I think that the majority of people who were supporting that were the people who are uneducated and who don't have a lot of financial means like a lot of people do. So he was able to basically hypnotize them, kind of like Adolf Hitler did, just by, telling them what they wanted to hear. So I see that similarity in everything. But, I'm not going to say that what's going on today is the same thing as the rise of Nazi Germany. All the riots and stuff that are going on, that's just people, bad people, trying to do bad things. It's not a government sending out enforcer thugs to make sure that people, obey the rule of the law, the iron fist of the government. What's going on with these riots and these violent protests are just people who want to do nothing but bad. They want to cause chaos, and they want to keep the pot stirred for whatever reasons that they have. I am all for a protest. If you have something and you're a group and you have something you want to protest, hell, if you're an individual and you have something you want to protest, that is fine. Protest away. You have that right to protest. But unfortunately, when you're protesting, if you're going to be doing it as a large group, there's always going to be violence associated with your protest, no matter what your intent was, whether you intended to do violence or whether your protest was nothing but peaceful and you were just holding up a sign and not saying a word, you were just holding up a sign. There's going to be violence associated with that protest. Why? Because there's always going to be people who use that as a catalyst to do bad things. And I hate that for protesters, because not all protests are violent. Not all protesters are violent. And violence and protesting are two completely different things. This whole Black Lives Matter, there's two factions on the Black Lives Matter. There are your peaceful people who are wanting to make a positive change by doing positive things, and then you have your other people who are tagging on to the Black Lives Matter movement, and all they want to do is violence and chaos, and they want to burn shit down. And the Black Lives Matter movement is getting blamed for burning, and I can't remember where this was, but this was just recently. The Black Lives Matter movement is getting blamed for burning a black church in a black community that had a sign on the church that said Black Lives Matter. Now, is that true or not? I don't know, but I'm saying that's the Black Lives Matter movement is getting blamed for it because there was a Black Lives Matter protest. Did the KKK come in there and do it? Did Whitey do it? Hell, I don't know, probably. But it could have been Black Lives Matter, people doing it just to cause chaos. So I don't think that there is enough stuff going on in the U.S. right now that you would be warranted to make a comparison to what was going on in Nazi Germany in the 30s. So, yeah, there's a couple of things that may be similar, but I don't think that that's enough stuff to say, yeah, this is the same thing as what was going on in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. So, yeah. And if anyone tries to take this out of context, remember, I do have all this recorded, so I can prove what I'm saying. So, yeah, Kasima, thanks for writing that. Once again, you always you challenge me whenever you write an email into me, make me think. But, yeah, no, I don't think that there's enough going on to make a comparison to Nazi Germany. No, not from the 30s. No, so what would this compare to, if any moment in history? I don't really know. I don't know how you could compare this to any moment in history that I know of. One of the first things that kind of comes to mind is the French Revolution, as you had a people who were oppressed and poor, and they were rising against the monarchy, which you can kind of say, well, you have these oppressed black people who are rising against the white man, but it's a stretch. Who I really feel bad for are our police officers, because they're not getting any respect whatsoever. And the only thing you're hearing about are bad police officers. And thank you, media, for doing this to our police officers. I hate, and I cannot emphasize the word hate enough. I hate the news media, because all they want to do, it seems like, is just report bad stuff. Now, it's not all news media, but the majority, yes. And it's just like, not all cops are bad. Not even the majority of cops are bad. But do you have a few bad cops? Yes. Yes, you do. And those are the ones that the media wants to report on. Shame on you, news media, for doing this. Shame on you. But you know what? You have no moral compass, so what do you care? I'm getting on a soapbox now. I don't want to do that. Let's see. Let's move on, shall we? Let's see. Okay, so these last three are really, really weird. Seems to be a lot of chemtrail stuff going on tonight. Seems to be the theme of the emails. So this is actually, I got two of these and I'm combining it into one. I really think that this was a bad attempt by someone to maybe do some spam stuff on me. I'm not sure. I don't know. But the reason I'm including this is because it's kind of weird. So I used to have, back when I was poor and had no money and I first started this podcast, I used to have a free website, and it was from a tripod. And so the website was like www.ParaRealityRadio.tripod.com. I think that's what it was. So that website is still kind of floating around out there, but it's defunct, right? I haven't used it in many, many years. But I had a contact form on there. And the other day I got not one, but two emails from the auto emailer from the contact form from my defunct website on Tripod, which is really weird. So, and it was from, I guess, two different people. So they filled out their name and then a comment. So, and I'm going to say these people's full name because I don't think that these are real people, but they could be. I don't know. That's just it. I don't know. It's really weird. So, okay. So the first one came from Piper Torres, and the comment was Piper, CO Tacoma, and it was all one word. So Piper, and then CO was capitalized like Colorado, and then Tacoma, and it was all one word. Piper TO Tacoma. So I was like, what the hell is this? And then the other one was from Mason Walker. And it said all one word, Mason, and then capital NM, like New Mexico, Fremont. Mason NM Fremont. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, what is going on with this? So I type in Piper Torres, Colorado. I don't really get anything. So I type in like Piper Torres Tacoma, and I type in Piper Company, in a Google search. So what I keep getting is a transportation company. It is really weird, and why would I be getting a transportation company? And the subject of the email is chemtrail comment on both of those. I don't understand it. So if you do a Google search and you do Piper Company Tacoma, you get McMillan Piper Import and Export Shipping in Seattle, Tacoma, Washington. Okay, so what's that? And you click on the website, and it's a transportation company, and it's over the road transportation stuff. But yet Piper is also the name of an airplane, and airplanes spray chemtrails. I don't know. It's once again really, really weird. And then this Mason Walker thing. I typed in Mason Walker, Fremont, New Mexico. Apparently there is no Fremont, New Mexico. If you just do like a Mason Walker, one of the top things that you get is, back from February of this year, is an obituary for this dude named Mason Walker. And he was only 26. And it doesn't say why he's dead, why he died at 26. You would think, oh, was it COVID? I don't know. Did he die in a terrible accident? I don't know. But it's the first two hits that you get when you do a Google search for Mason Walker is this dude from Arkansas who was 26 years old that passed away, that died. And it's really weird. And there's these pictures of this dude. And what are these people trying to tell me? I don't understand it. Did Mason Walker have something to do with the Piper Transport Company and chemtrails? Is that why he's dead? Was he a pilot spraying chemtrails? Did he know something about the chemtrails? I don't know. It's really weird. And I spent like close to 2 hours trying to piece these things together. Piper Torres, Piper TO Tacoma, or Piper CO Tacoma, Mason Walker, Mason NM Fremont. I don't get it. One thing I didn't think to do was type in Mason, New Mexico. So, well, I have an internet connection. right here in front of me. Let's see. Mason, New Mexico. Is there a Mason, New Mexico? Well, you type in Mason, New Mexico, and the very first thing you get is the Grand Lodge of New Mexico from the New Mexico Masons. This is just really weird, people. I don't know what this means. I really don't. So it flabbergasted me. That's why I included this. So maybe you guys out there can figure this out or help me figure this out. So on both of these contact forms, the subject was chemtrail comment. Okay. And then the first one was from Piper Torres, Pipertorres. The comment was this: Piper CO Tacoma, Piper, capital CO, then Tacoma, all one word. Then the next one, same thing. Subject, chemtrail comment. Name, Mason Walker, common spelling, MasonWalker. Comment, Mason, capital NM, Fremont, Mason NM Fremont, all one word. I don't understand what that means. I wish I did. If you guys know, if you guys can figure it out or think you got something, email me, sandman@ParaReality.com. Call me on the studio line, 615-692-1170. Let me know if anyone can figure this out, because I can't. I don't know. It's got me flabbergasted. So there you go. So I saved the weird ones for last. And this next one comes from, normally I don't give last names. I don't, I normally don't do that. After I said at the first of the show, if you want to, leave me stuff, don't worry about me giving your last name or yours. But I don't know. I mean, this Piper Torres Mason Walker thing, it just has me perplexed. And this other one, I don't have any qualms of giving this guy's full name because he is a public figure, and he emailed me. His name is Daniel Ruminos, and he says, interested in perhaps guesting on your show to discuss my paranormal espionage thriller series. I may be contacted here via email or call, and he leaves me his contact info. And I was like, okay, so I go into the website that he gave me, and I look at it, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this just looks like it's a book. Paranormal espionage thriller series is a work of fiction. Why would I want to have, that's not really what I do. Although I have done that once, but, so then I'm like, okay, so who is this Daniel Ruminos guy? So, I do what I always do. What would you do? You do Google it, right? So I Googled Daniel Ruminos, and there's no way in hell Daniel Ruminos is ever going to be a guest on this show. And the reason for that is because he seems to be a pedophile. He goes by a lot of different names. Daniel Ruminos is just one of the many names that this guy goes by. And he says that he likes young girls. He calls himself Dr. Daniel Ruminos. He fancies himself as an occult investigator. And he he has claimed to have cast satanistic spells so that 12-year-old girls would have sex with him. I mean, this guy admits this. He's not even a real doctor. He just calls himself a doctor. He says things like he has a business card for his occult investigations practice, which lists demonology, exorcism, psychic research, UFOs, ghosts and hauntings, and spell casting as his areas of expertise. He claims things like he gives the illusion that he received an education from Johns Hopkins University, though he admits that that's not what he does, that he just lives in the area. So Johns Hopkins area is his home. He actually had a website that listed JHU, Johns Hopkins University Paranormal, that said that he had studied there. But really what he says is, well, I just happen to live in the neighborhood, so I kind of used it as a home base for a couple of years. What the hell? I mean, just weird stuff. He has appeared on Coast to Coast AM back in 2007. I don't know what all he talked about. Like I said, he's just I don't know. Somebody that's not going to be on this show. Is it like I said, Dr. Daniel Ruminos is one of a string of names that he calls himself. He actually looks like his real name is Ronald Lee Mershon Jr. And sometime in the past, he changed his name legally to Daniel John Moran III. He's also called himself Ron Mephisto, Daniel Garugolo. Let's see. Gosh. The Ron Mephisto thing is one that he's used a lot. He has been caught doing he gives himself he reviews himself on websites and uses like a whole bunch of different names, fake names, to talk to himself on websites and just, I don't know, it's really, really, really weird. But the main thing is that he says he used to cast spells to attract 12-year-old girls. I just have problems with that. A lot of problems. If you've ever heard of the website thedirty.com, you can go on The Dirty and type in his name. He's in the Baltimore area. You can get a lot of dish on this guy from people who know him in the Baltimore area. But unfortunately, a lot of the people that is on there appear to be him. Promoting his own works, his own books and everything. So, yeah, I will not be having this guy on the show. And like I said, I have no problem giving this guy's name because he is, I guess, a public figure. I mean, he has been on Coast to Coast and he's been interviewed in newspapers and yeah, he's I think looking for his 15 minutes of fame, and he's not going to get it from thanks to me. So there you go, Mr. Daniel Ruminos. The answer is no. And then finally, this is what I've been waiting for. Man, I am so super stoked about this email. So I said it was chemtrail night, right? So we've had Casima, who has talked about chemtrails, and we had the two chemtrail comments from Piper Torres and Mason Walker. And now it all boils down to the last one. I saved the best for last. My old buddy, the Skywatcher, is back. Now, the Skywatcher is a guy that emailed the show. He used to do it. He's done it a few times. It's been a long, long time since he emailed the show. He even called one time. I wish I could find. I've got the audio of that I downloaded off the studio line that I played back on the air. I got to find it again. Voice disguiser and all that sorts of stuff. Haven't heard from him in a long time. He just kind of like stopped emailing the show. So this guy goes by the name Skywatcher, not Skywalker, Skywatcher, and he is a chemtrail enthusiast, or he is a believer in chemtrails. Okay. So he writes this. This is kind of a long email, so I'm going to read it in its entirety. Skywatcher writes, "Hello, Sandman. It has been quite a long time since I have emailed you. To be honest, I all but stopped researching my conspiracy theory about Agenda 21. Things in my everyday life slowly began to become more important, and those things replaced Agenda 21. That is, until COVID-19 came around. At first, I thought that it would probably stay in China or not go any further than the Asian countries. But when it began to spread worldwide, I one day suddenly had a revelation. Could COVID-19 be part of Agenda 21, or maybe even how Agenda 21 will be carried out? I think that's plausible. I think that it's plausible. I believe that this is our wake-up call. The mainstream news is nothing but propaganda, and each media outlet has their own personal agenda that they are trying to push. The news media is basically controlled by only 6 major corporations. I think that they are all probably in bed with the UN and are being used to spread lies and falsehoods about what is really happening with COVID-19. The death numbers are more than what they are telling us. Another thing, how do you think that COVID-19 spread so rapidly? It was done by using the chemtrail program. This is nothing more than population control, and after years of experimenting with chemtrail chemicals, it looks like they have finally found the right concoction to carry out their plan. When you look up into the sky and see those big jets flying over and see the trails behind them that won't go away, you are looking at Agenda 21 being carried out right before your eyes. I am surprised that you haven't figured this out yet, since you are a chemtrail conspiracy theorist. I've gone back and listened to some of your podcasts, and you haven't even spoken about it. I think this is something that you need to investigate and do it quickly before it's too late. It may already be." And then it's signed, The Skywatcher. Keep watching the skies. Agenda 21 is in effect. Holy shit, right? So, Kasima, were you not close to what this guy is saying? Huh? I mean, this is freaking amazing. And he is absolutely right. Me being a chemtrail researcher should have put this together. But, you know, I've been too busy like fighting COVID-19 on the front lines, I guess, for me to even be worried about this too much. But yeah, I mean, he's right. I didn't figure it out, and I should have. And I you know, like my only excuse is that I was too busy actually, fighting COVID-19 than trying to worry about chemtrail planes, you know? So for those of you who don't know what Agenda 21 is, it's like it's a United Nations plan. It's like a sustainable it's a global plan, and it's in regard to sustainable development. It came about in 1992. There is, if you type in Agenda 21 on a Google search, you'll get all kinds of stuff on it. There's a 351 page document that you can actually download. It comes from the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development that was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, back in June of 1992. And basically, what a lot of people believe is that this is the United Nations version of population control. To put it in a nutshell. And there is a faction, and Skywatcher is or the Skywatcher is obviously a proponent of the belief that Agenda 21 is somehow tied into the chemtrails, that the chemtrails that are being sprayed is a form of population control. They're trying to either sterilize us some way, make us infertile, or give us a disease that we can't cure or even have a hard time curing, or just a disease that wipes out a large portion of the population. So it's like a global population control effort by the United Nations. Agenda 21. Do a Google search, Kasima. If you don't know what Agenda 21 is, here's something for you to research, baby. Do a Google search on Agenda 21, and if you really want to do a deep dive, do Agenda 21 and chemtrails, or chemtrails and Agenda 21, and you get all kinds of stuff. I'm not so convinced that Agenda 21 and chemtrails have anything to do with each other. However, still open. My jury's still out on that. I don't know that they don't have anything to do with each other either, But my old buddy, the Skywatcher, it has been a long while, several years since I've heard from the Skywatcher. I was wondering what happened to this dude, and looking back at his email here, it looks like he just kind of lost interest in it, which happens. I mean, you can burn out on stuff, So looks like the Skywatcher just kind of burned out on his chemtrail research, or should I say his Agenda 21 research. I don't know which one you would say it is, maybe both. His name, Skywatcher, I mean, he says, keep watching the skies, but he also says Agenda 21's in effect. So, guess, well, to him, they each go hand in hand. So, buddy, Skywatcher, I was wondering what happened to you, why I hadn't heard from you in such a long time. Glad to know that you're still around, and glad to see you're starting to research your chemtrails again and getting on your Agenda 21 conspiracy theory thing. Look, man, like I said, my jury's still out. I don't know that Agenda 21 and chemtrails have anything to do with each other, but it's definitely something, that the listeners out there can look up on their own. So, my jury's still out. Okay. I don't think that Agenda 21 and chemtrails have anything to do with each other. Is COVID-19, is that something that is a direct result of the chemtrails? Evidence is showing, man, that this originated in China. I mean, we can pretty much prove that. So unless the chemtrail planes sprayed this concoction out in China first, I'm going to have to say I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think that COVID-19 is a result of chemtrail planes, dude. I just don't. Are chemtrail planes real? Hell yes, they're real. Are they spraying some shit out that they shouldn't be? Probably so. I don't know what it is, and neither does anyone else, except for the people that are spraying the shit out. Or hell, maybe they don't even know. Maybe the only people who knows what it is are the people who's making this shit. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know, right? So, man, I've run over time, and I don't want to take up too much more of anyone's time, so that's about it for the show tonight. Thanks to everybody who wrote in and asked me questions. Kasima, especially, thank you for your double email. My old buddy, Skywatcher, to Brian and Friday. Appreciate that. Everybody who wrote in. I really appreciate you guys. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask or a comment that you'd like to make or an observation, whatever, write me in. And I try to do one listener email every show, but I can't always get to every one of them. So, write me in. If you want to write a big, long email that has 20 questions on it, I don't care. Go ahead. I may pick a couple and answer them, and I may save some more for the next episode of Ask Sandman. I've always enjoyed doing these shows. It's fun for me, so I hope it was fun for you. I hope you got to learn a little bit of something tonight and got to listen to some things that you probably never heard before. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode of ParaReality. Let me know what your ideas and thoughts about it are. Send me an email, sandman@parareality.com, or get in touch with me through my social media accounts. That's ParaReality on Facebook or ParaReal Radio on Twitter. Call the studio line if you want, 615-692-1170, and leave me a message. Don't forget to visit ParaReality.com often to keep up on the latest in paranormal news from all around the world. The content is updated almost daily, and while you're there, you can listen to some of the shows in the archives. You can keep up with the latest paranormal news and shop in the ParaReality Radio store. I got a new store. There's new merch in there. Heck, you can even go to the extras page and you can watch some of the terrible videos that I've made for the show over the years. Man, they suck, but I put them up there for your entertainment. And you can actually follow my social media accounts on my website right there on the bottom of the ParaReality.com homepage. Social media is where you can find out all about what's happening behind the scenes here of the podcast, because that's where I post a lot of interesting articles and show topics and other interesting stuff like my travels and investigations and overall thoughts about things, stuff like that. ParaReality.com is really your one-stop shopping for everything that's happening in the ParaReality world. ParaReality can be heard on your favorite podcast platform. Man, if you name a podcast platform, I am on it, and so is everyone else. All other 200 million podcasters, I am there right along with them. And if you got a smart speaker, then you can listen there too. If you got any of those podcast platforms loaded up on your smart device, all you got to do is just say, "Hey, play the ParaReality podcast," and there you are listening to ParaReality. And I now have a Patreon account for the podcast, and I'd love it if you sign up to be a patron. There are 3 tiers of support, and all are extremely affordable, $5 a month or less. Each level offers exclusive content, along with the ability to help create podcast episodes and even a chance to be a guest or a co-host. To learn more, just head on over to patreon.com/ParaReality, and 100% from the proceeds of Patreon goes back into producing this quality podcast. So I'd appreciate all your support. All right, everyone. The next episode of ParaReality is going to be on Friday, September the 18th at 8 o'clock p.m. Central U.S. time. So make sure you tune in, and find out. I hope this podcast opens up your mind to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. I hope you have a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys again in 2 weeks.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.